Hey, what's up everyone? And well, I hope you're all having a good summer. I am obviously, and I've seen several movies since, well, in the summer, that's when all the big blockbuster releases happen. And I know I've been pretty behind on my movie reviews, and I have other stuff I gotta work on right now, and upcoming stuff for obviously Halloween, which I have to try to get ready for since I felt pretty behind last year. So I figured, what the hell, might as well do 3 movie reviews in one video. Yep, a 3-part, 3 movie review, starting with The Flash. And okay, before I get to it, okay, now that that's out of the way, let's get this review done in a flash. Well, to the best description I can, and I'll try to keep the maximum spoilers to a minimum, obviously. Yeah, I'm not going to spoil anything major, but there's the warning I heeded. Yeah, I was definitely looking forward to this one, especially after some delays that it suffered from with the actor getting into legal trouble, but I'm glad he came back, and I'm glad he got his movie, and all I could say is, yes, for DC comic movies, especially lately that have been pretty hit and miss, this one I'd say is a pretty good hit. It's not great, like Dark Knight great, or as good as like Wonder Woman, the first one that came out in 2017, but it's very enjoyable. I'm glad to see he's back. He's just as funny as ever. And, well, of course, this involves, as you guessed, time travel. Yeah, that's right. It gets into more of the personal stuff. And, well, this concept actually kind of works. Yeah, it does seem like so many movies are trying this idea. And with this one, well, it more or less, he goes back in time to stop the death of his mother for his own personal benefit, more or less depressing type of feel. And as you guessed, it creates kind of a multiverse. That's right. They're going in sort of the Spider-Man No Way Home direction. And as you saw in the teaser trailers, this is no spoiler, I was most excited to see Michael Keaton back as Batman. And he comes back, just as you remember. This is the part I got really excited to see, and it was just as fun and a real nostalgic trip. And trust me, anybody was excited for this. And man, it was worth it. There's tons of other Easter eggs in this movie, and that's really what this one is all about, considering it clashes with other DC comic movies that you've seen before in other universes before this DCU reboot universe happened. There's other appearances from other characters. Of course, you got appearances from Ben Affleck at the beginning, his version of Bruce Wayne Batman, even a cameo from Wonder Woman, and the action scenes are really good. Of course, you got a lot of this slow motion stuff because he's the Flash, he runs fast. And I know we've kind of seen this before done in plenty other movies, believe me. It's not an exhausting idea. It's a cool concept at the beginning especially, and it establishes the character a lot better, how he got his powers and everything like that, and how he uses the powers for his personal life and everything like that. It's not just a typical crossover movie. It really explores the character a lot more and his personal background and everything like that, but at the same time goes into the multiverse with, of course, a Back to the Future reference, even other references to other DC comic movies that we've seen in the past. So yeah, like I said, it's a real nostalgic trip, even almost a what-if scenario with the Nicolas Cage Superman movie that obviously never happened and thank the Lord never did in one brief moment. So yeah, the third act may be criticizable, and with the Superman part of it, it does actually go into the part of the Man of Steel when General Zod comes to Earth and more of a what-if scenario. And yeah, I agree, it may get a little bit messy at the end. And it kind of goes in the direction of we shouldn't have done that type of idea, and this was a bad idea. So you may criticize that, but in a way it kind of comes together. It works out, and it kind of ties the knot together. Not perfectly. And okay, the very ending sequence right before the credits roll, I will not dare give it away, but you'll definitely be thinking to yourself, WTF. Yeah. And yes, there is actually a scene not during the middle of the credits, but only after the credits, which, I'm going to be honest, and I'm sure most of us can agree, is rather pointless. It doesn't develop or hint anything that's upcoming in the DCU or anything like that. It's just there. It's pretty much, in my opinion, on the same level as the end credit scene on the 2012 Avengers movie. So, otherwise, overall, a very fun, enjoyable experience for 2.5 hours. May go on a little bit long, but trust me, you'll have a really good time. Like I said, if you're really into old school nostalgic DC comic movies, you're really looking for a lot of Easter eggs, as well as action, you'll definitely get your speed and light and really will pack a punch for any DC comic fan right here. So, Go check it out. Final verdict. Rockin' Wii Remote Wii Motion Plus up and a Playing Wii Remote up. It's good fun comic book entertainment right here. Alright, next one. Transformers, The Rise of Beasts. And all I can say is this one is more than meets the eye. Almost. Now, first of all, yes, well, this is the second movie not to be directed by Michael Bay. Well, not including the animated film that came out in 1986. No, we're talking live action films, obviously. And yes, Bumblebee was an excellent reboot. It's not a prequel, it's a reboot over the Michael Bay movies, which I did enjoy the first one, don't get me wrong, but the sequels just got worse and worse, as we can all agree, and especially the fourth and fifth one, yeah. It was time to give this series an overhaul, and they did with that one. And this one, in case you're confused when seeing the trailer, well, the trailer actually tells you it takes place in 1994, unlike Bumblebee, which took place in 1987. But yeah, this one, as you can see in the New York City background, it has the Twin Towers in it. Yeah, I miss those buildings like anybody else does. And of course it involves around the Transformers, which, okay, it's not the most original concept. It goes with the whole idea. They have to get an ancient artifact, which it happens to be on Earth, and they got to stop, not the Decepticons this time. They're kind of the same thing, but they're a different name. And the Autobots join in with the Autobots that resemble different types of animals. Gorillas, birds, and tigers. Hence the term Rise of the Beasts. And it does makes for some really great action and a pretty good story. Of course, the first 30 minutes or so revolves around the human characters. It may be a little slow and everything like that. They're not as interesting, but it leads up to a great story once you get past that. There are some things I have to nitpick about it, like with, of course, the Game Boy. Yeah, they got to bring the Game Boy in just to remind you it's 1994. But one thing as a diehard gamer is the kid says, I can't get past Bowser. Forgive me, but I don't think any of the Mario games on Black and White Game Boy had Bowser in it as the last boss, if any of you played those games. Yeah, just a minor nitpick there. But hey, at least it's not Michael Bay directing it this time. He's just one of several producers. It's instead done by the Creed 2 director, and I'd say he did a pretty good job. The action's really good, the design on the Autobots and all the Transformers are done really well, and, well, just like the other films, the Autobots have to stop the Decepticon-ish Transformers from destroying the Earth, getting the item, the key, or half the key, and the other half of it is located in South America. And it sort of turns into like an Indiana Jones. Yeah, it revolves around the main characters. They all come together and have to team up with the Autobots to take down the evil Transformer robots. And yeah, the action is really good. The soundtrack is really good. I saw it in 3D, which I don't highly recommend, but yeah, it could be a little distracting, but that's not what it's about. The action, the characters, they're not as annoying as the other Michael Bay movies, so you don't have nothing to worry about there. It even throws in a little surprise at the end, which I wouldn't dare give away, but the human characters themselves really do play a big part in helping out Autobots, and it works. Yeah, it may not be a masterpiece, it may not be an Oscar winner, but compared to the other Michael Bay sequel films, it's definitely less annoying to watch. And, well, the ending part just before the end credits, it may be a little criticizable, but I'm only going to say this, another crossover. Yeah, it seems like every movie franchise is trying with this whole shared universe idea, and I don't really think this one should go in that direction. This is just my opinion. I really wish they just focus on making more sequels, which of course it's going to happen, because this one made a pretty good amount of money at the box office. And yeah, there is something in the middle of the credits. Not 100% necessary, but it's enjoyable. It's funny. It has some good jokes thrown in there, some cheesy stuff. It's what you'd expect. It's good fun popcorn entertainment. Go see it. I enjoyed it. That's all that matters. It may not be more than meets the eye, but it's a good fun time. So, my final verdict, rockin' Wii Remote Wii Motion Plus up and a Playing Wii Remote up. Alright, and last but not least, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Yes, the last one, at least starring Harrison Ford, And I can't imagine them making another one. I mean, this isn't James Bond, keep in mind. This is Harrison Ford's role right here. And not to mention, this is not only the first one, of course, done by Disney, being that they are the sole owners of Lucasfilms, but also the first one not to be directed by Steven Spielberg. It is instead directed by James Mangold, who has a pretty damn good track record. But this one, on the other hand, may not be his best film, being that it's been kind of ridiculed by professional critics and some fans, getting mixed to somewhat negative reactions. And I gotta ask, what do people really expect? I mean, come on. Especially over 10 years ago when Crystal Skull came out, everybody went in to see that movie thinking it was going to be awesome like the original trilogy. I didn't. I mean, really? It was like the Phantom Menace of the Indiana Jones movies. Everybody was so excited to see it and then went to see it and hated it and criticized it and ripped it. I, on the other hand, I actually enjoyed it. Okay, yeah, I expected that. But otherwise, yeah, what did you really expect? I know it has a lot of stupid stuff in it, a lot of things you'd love to rant and nitpick about, but once you get past that, it's really not terrible. I mean, okay, Shia LaBeouf may have been annoying and kind of out of place for this kind of movie taking place in the 50s. This time around it takes place in the 60s, and no, he's not in this movie. I won't give it away, but, well, okay, I think we can all agree we don't miss him. Yeah, come on. This is Harrison Ford's movie right here. I went to see it with the reasonably low expectations, and it was actually pretty enjoyable. Of course, this one takes place in 1969, but takes place before that during the first 10 or 15 minutes during World War II, setting up the whole plot. So it's not just filler. Yes, this movie does go on for about 2.5 hours, so you could criticize the runtime, but honestly, I didn't feel any part dragging. There's a few slow parts in the middle, perhaps, but for the most part, I was thoroughly entertained. Of course, like I said, first 15 minutes or so during World War II, and it leads up to the story's main plot, which, of course, brings in our movie's main villains, one of them led by the same actor who played, of course, the main villain in the last Fantastic Beasts movie. Yeah, you know, the guy who replaced Johnny Depp. And, well, he's a Nazi, or former Nazi, who's trying to change time and everything like that. So, yeah, we're trying to bring time travel into this one? Oh, God. Okay, yeah, it's not as bad as you think it is. It doesn't focus around that too much. It's more or less about the adventure part of it, which it all takes place in mostly 1969. And because it's obviously during the time when Neil Armstrong returned to Earth after landing on the moon, you got the celebration there, plenty of patriotic stuff there, plenty of good chase scenes. Some of it is CGI, obviously, like anything else is nowadays. And of course, Harrison Ford does show his age a bit in a couple scenes in this movie. But hey, he isn't afraid to pack a punch. He isn't afraid to throw a whip. He isn't afraid, of course, to don the fedora for one final time. And let me tell you, he does it with honor. So, yeah, I'd say he gives it a last good ride with some good surprises and, of course, a different companion this time around, his goddaughter. Yep, she does the part pretty well. You could criticize that one moment, which, of course, you see in the trailer where she says, capitalism. Okay, it's kind of cheesy. There's a couple of cheesy jokes in there. There's other returning actors that make a couple of appearances in here, and even another new actor that you probably known as Red Skull's accomplice, but he's not the villain in this movie. So it all adds up. It works out. It may not be the best in the franchise. It's good entertainment. Take it for what it is. May not be the best one, but it gets the job done. Yeah. I mean, I didn't expect it to be great. It may be a little forgettable in comparison to the first three. I mean, nothing can top Raiders of the Lost Ark and Last Crusade. Those two will always be my two favorites, and nothing will ever change that. But I had a good time. So, I can't say it was bad, but it's not great either. It has the classic theme song, it's got some pretty good action, and some fighting, and some treasure hunting in exotic locations all across the world and mostly Europe. And, well, all I can say is, I enjoyed it. So, my final verdict, just a plain 2-ear motes up. Forgettable, but entertaining and fun. You may say or debate whether this one is better than Crystal Skull, or not. That's up to you. So, till next time, keep watching.